welcome to Broadish, our last episode of 2020.
Oh,
I can't believe we've been doing this almost 6 months now.
I know.
Months? I can't believe that.
We're going to get right into it. Our first topic is exciting news, guys. A first for the First Lady.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
Dr. Jill Biden. She's keeping her job. She's keeping her day job.
It's awesome.
Well, that might keep her sane in these days. You know what I mean? Like, I got to be honest. It's nice for her to have something else to go to. But I have to admit, I am concerned about her safety just because of the time she's coming in. We got a lot of wackos in this country. People are calling for violence. Like, they really are. Like, people in like elected. Yes, there's everything from different Republicans to Trump himself calling for a wild time. Everybody come here and protest this, and then people are saying like we're gonna wage war, and so I don't think it's. I just want her to be safe. That's all. Yeah. I just want Dr. Jill to be safe.
Can you imagine the Proud Boys protesting outside her school? You're Mr. Biden. You're Mr. Biden.
It's like, this is called school. You know what I mean? Like, this is where they learn.
I just hope this is the last time that they make a big deal about this. Not because she's the first lady, but when there's a female president, they're not going to say, oh, well, he's keeping his job.
No, like nobody said, is Doug Emhoff keeping his job? Kamala's husband. No, that's not even a discussion. He's a man. He's gonna work. Yeah. You know what I mean? But like, she's keeping her job. That's offensive. Like, what? She can work.
So many people are gonna want to be in her class now. Like when Madeleine Albright, our former Secretary of State, became professor at Georgetown, my university. Like everyone want to be in her class. So can you imagine the first, an existing current first lady, not even a former celebrity, the current celebrity, first lady is a celebrity in my opinion, teaching a class. Everyone's going to want to get in, which makes me think the best way for me to blow up my comedy career is to become the first lady. Then
you gotta become the first lady, Jocelyn. But you already have a doctor. Like, didn't you say you have a doctor?
Yeah, doctorate of jurisprudence. Yeah, I'll be
you Dr. Chia. Dr. Chia. I'm serious. You should be Dr. Chia.
Well, she was not only the first lady, she was also the first second lady.
Oh, that's true.
That's right.
As the first second lady, she's the first second lady to keep her job. No other vice president wives kept their jobs.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh wow.
Yeah, she's a working lady, but she's not the second wife, is she?
What?
The second
wife.
Are you like, girl? Don't do
Ronald
this.
Reagan.
Who's on first?
Ronald Reagan was
you doing this all who's on? I'm like.
This is very confusing. Who's on first? What's on second?
I know. So she was a second lady when she was, it's called the second lady, the vice president? Yeah. Okay, so she's an
official term. I thought Felicia just made it up.
I know, but like I keep thinking like Doug is the first gentleman. Like he's making history.
Well, you know how I learned that? Because when Biden gave his acceptance speech, he said she was also a great second lady. And I thought he was referring to the fact that she was his second marriage.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I'm like, that's so rude.
I know. It's like, you are my second lady.
Do you think she could keep, it's a big job what she has to do. Do you think she could do both?
Heck, the first lady, like, come on. We've seen Melania, how she treated that office. I think Jill can handle it. You know what I mean? Like, what did Melania do? She just did these crappy Christmas decorations every year. You know what I mean? She didn't even keep a garden. I'm just like,
yeah, she can find her own responsibility. So I'm sure. And also, I read that Michelle Obama only wanted to work 2 days a week. So if Michelle can work 2 days a week, why can't Jill?
I know, and Michelle made it a fruitful 2 days. Like she made it a real productive 2 days.
Time management down.
Well, I'm excited for her. I'm excited for her to keep her job. She obviously loves what she does. And I think I'm going to sign up. You're right, Jocelyn. I'm going to sign up for an English class.
Well, I'm going to enroll in her university now.
Yeah, so that's good news in the doctor world. And unfortunately, now we have some bad news in the doctor world. This was a horrible story, remembering Dr. Susan Moore, who was in the hospital in Indiana and claimed during her visit that she was not getting the best treatment, and actually it was racism. And when she came home 2 weeks later, she died.
Wow.
Yeah, and the thing that gets me about this is that number one, she's a physician, so she knows exactly what she needs. Two, she has a condition. She had a condition called sarcoidosis. It's an inflammatory disease where she's always had to fight for herself going through the medical industry, period. She's had to fight all the time. And she said it's been really hard as a Black woman to fight. But, the thing about her was that she was telling doctors and nurses, like, look, she had to constantly advocate for medication, scans, routine checks. And she said they were treating her like she was drug seeking, which is very, very common, a very, very common complaint of Black patients about doctors and nurses. And they discharged her. And she was like, I'm not ready to go. I'm still very sick. They discharged her. She was back in the hospital, that hospital, 12 hours later. Okay. And then she somehow was able to get transferred to another hospital. And that's where she died. But by then it was too late. She was put on the ventilator and then she died.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about this is that if this is how much trouble a doctor is going through to get her needs advocated, how about a non-doctor lay person? I'm just shocked that even a doctor couldn't get her own needs met. Is she telling them she's a doctor? I'm like, how can they be so dismissive of fellow professionals advocating of their own selves?
Well, what's really sad is that the president of the hospital said in a statement that his nursing team may have been intimidated by her. May have been intimidated by a patient that was so knowledgeable and using social media to advocate for herself. And then she died. So basically it was like dead if you do, dead if you don't. Do you know what I mean? Like she was advocating for herself, that intimidated? Like Jocelyn and Felicia, good and daggone well, if you're in the hospital and you think you're dying COVID, you're going to try and ask for whatever you need to stay alive. Like that's just anybody. But for him to turn around and be like, maybe they were intimidated by her. I was just like,
I can't believe he can't even accept the wrong. Someone died under your watch. I think he's trying to excuse liability. He's probably getting lawsuits already, but
yeah. Well, he basically confirmed what she said. He basically confirmed the systemic racism that she experienced. He confirmed it. They were intimidated. Intimidated. I just kind of feel like, I don't know. I'm a daughter of a nurse. I know so many women who are nurses and so many women who were daughters of nurses. Nurses tough it out and nurses see everything. So for them to be like, they were intimidated by her, I just don't buy that.
Yeah, I'm really embarrassed. This is my university's healthcare system. I went to Indiana University.
Oh,
really?
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know she faced racism and it was horrible, but the question I have is, how do you know it just wasn't a bad hospital and everyone was being treated that way?
That was a question I had too, because are they turning all, because when hospitals get overwhelmed, they were forced to turn people away and discharge them sooner rather than later across the board. So do we have that kind of comparison, apples to apples?
Well, I think the problem was more that, she felt like she was asking for narcotics and they won't give it to her. They were making her feel like she was a drug addict.
Which is what something they do. They do that they do that very routinely to Black people. And the thing is, we don't, you may not know is racism. We may not all know it was racism, but believe me, when it happens to you, and I've had it happen to me, it's racism. You feel it. You can just see they're not seeing you. And it's not like they want you to die or they're just calling you names. It's none of that. It's a negation of your humanity. It's like, I just don't see you.
Why would they do that to a Black person specifically? Why would they not see a Black person? Can you explain that?
Because, did you see that thing a few years ago? They did a study where they asked, I'm getting it, I'm not doing it completely right because I don't have it in front of me, but they asked thousands of doctors and med school students the questions like this. do Black people feel the same amount of pain as white people? And they were like, no. What? No. I have to find this for you and give it to you. But they asked them all these questions like, are they drug seeking more? Yes. Do they feel the same amount of pain? No. So when you are being told that these what doctors and med students think about you, that's what they see. That's what they see. Wow. And unfortunately, I've experienced systemic racism in the healthcare industry. I've experienced that myself. And when it happens, you're so shocked because you're sitting there thinking to yourself, this is weird. This is not supposed to be happening. How come this person is like, I've had doctors not even really want to look me in the eye, just like write a script, not even, like, I'll never forget, I was in college, I got a prescription for birth control pills. And I was like, it was the first time I was outside a family doctor. And I was like, can you explain this? Can you like break this down to me? Because I know he's like, you could read, just,
wow.
And I was like, okay, my family doctor never treated me that way. And when
that was big of him to admit that he thought you could read.
Well, at least he thought that, right? I am in college. I should be able to read.
That's so funny. I experienced 2 brushes of racism on behalf of Black people. Once I had a house sitter at my apartment, and people were complaining about the smell of weed. And so they were like, oh, is it coming from my apartment? Whose apartment is it coming from? So I asked her, have you been smoking weed? And she goes, no, but I don't want to be racist. Look, anyone who starts a sentence with, I don't want to be racist, but you're going to say something racist, okay? Like, I don't want to be racist, but I've seen a Black guy. I was like, what? I can't believe this guy fucking mouth. And then the second time was when I was in Italy with my ex-boyfriend who's Black, and we tried to sit down, and the waitress was like, we're full. And we looked, there were like 20 empty tables. She's like, it's all reserved. No, it's not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's bad in healthcare. I mean, I almost forgot her name. Serena Williams almost died giving birth.
Wow.
Really? Serena Williams, because the maternity mortality rate among Black women is very high, very, very high, even in this country.
They know who she is, right? When they're giving her top-notch treatment.
I don't know what was happening, but it was just like she was saying that she was advocating for herself and they were not listening. Wow. And she almost died. That's Serena Williams. Wow. So
I mean, I've even experienced it myself with doctors because they just have this godlike know-it-all complex. I have that problem too as an Asian person. I'm not sure whether it's just a minority thing or it's just like doctors having this know-it-all complex.
Well, I've seen, I have a friend and she's a Black woman, she's a doctor and she's a know-it-all complex. You know what I mean? So yeah, there are lots of doctors that have know-it-all complexes, but systemic racism in the healthcare industry is very real. Is very, very real. And I can't speak for other races because I don't know how doctors see them because I'm not in that skin. You know what I mean? So right. I don't know. But I do know just from seeing and from experience, this woman was very clearly advocating for herself. And they sent her home. And she was basically, when she tweeted out, she was like, I put forth and maintain if I was white, I would not be going through this. This is how Black people get killed. When you send them home and they don't know how to fight for themselves. She tweeted that, and then they sent her home, and then she had to come back 12 hours later, and then she died on the ventilator. So it's like, how wrong was this woman?
When I was reading that Black people are dying disproportionately higher than other races of COVID, and I was trying to find out why, there are all these reasons, right? Like, socioeconomically, they weren't doing as well, so they couldn't afford the healthcare. But there was no mention of this other part of hospitals and doctors just treating them in a racist manner, contributing to their higher mortality rate.
Yeah. Well, one is a lack of family doctors. You know what I mean? A lot of times if you are from a lower socioeconomic rung, you don't have that family doctor. You know what I mean? You don't have this stuff. And when you don't have a family doctor, you don't have somebody tracking your healthcare along the way. You know what I mean? Felicia, you have kids. Our family pediatrician was like, oh, I remember you, Razi, when you have this and this age, and now you're here. When you don't have that, you have a very disrupted approach towards your healthcare. So that is one. Another is even when Black people are in trouble sometimes, obviously not all the time, but sometimes you go in, like sickle cell and black sickle cell anemia patients. Most people have sickle cell anemia are black, but sickle cell anemia patients constantly, you should Google when they talk about how they are in pain and how they are treated like they are drug seeking. So it's something to really look at. And I just, you know, I feel so bad for this woman. She did everything she was supposed to do, and then look what happened. Too.
Wow, like this is
a doctor.
Yeah, it's a good point about a family doctor, because I had one growing up in Singapore, and so it's kind of cool. Even when I go back to Singapore, he remembers my history. Oh, you remember this drug allergy you have, da da da, and you've already had asthma before, so you be careful about COVID because of this like underlying condition, da da da. I don't have that in America. Like healthcare here is so fragmented. I go to like this specialist for this and that specialist. I don't have one person like overseeing everything. Yeah. And now that you're saying, I was like, oh yeah, like that family doctor who's been with you like your whole life is the thing that's like kind of tying in, overseeing it all together.
The one thing I don't understand though is isn't like drug seeking like a white person's disease in a hospital? That's our drug.
Psychiatrist.
Oxycodone, that's like our drug. That's not that's our problem, no?
Well, like think about it. Like think about the opioid epidemic. Think about that for a second. It has disproportionately affected and killed more white people.
Yeah,
it has. But think about that for a second. So you have Black people who were denied drugs because medications when they really need them because they appear to be drug seeking. But then you have a lot of white doctors not putting the brakes on all these white people that really are drug seeking. And maybe if they had a little bit of bias towards them, they would be like, hey, you're getting to be an addict here. You know what I mean? Like that flip has worked in reverse for white people, to white people's detriment, that they're not looking at you as drug seeking. So that's a very interesting
white
byproduct.
Privilege really turn against you in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, think about that. Like you sit there, I see so many documentaries about, you know, the fentanyl and everything. And I'm like, why were they just given that time and time again? That makes no sense.
I mean, I am shocked by how easy it is to get medication in America. I mean, as a non-white person, like there are these like online things that you can go on, fill out a little questionnaire, be like, yeah, I'm depressed. And they just give you Prozac. Like, that was it? A 5-minute survey? And now I have like this drug in my hands delivered to my doorstep the next day?
Wow. I need that website. But the one thing that I find interesting though, which we're talking about the drugs, is like, you know, when you go, like my son got his wisdom teeth pulled and they said he needed pain. They gave him pain medicine. You might need it for 3 days. Yeah. So total of like, I don't know, 6 pills. And they fill the prescription. It's like 30-day supply. I'm like,
you're like,
can pharmacists not count to like 10? I don't, you know.
I know. Are they trying to help him start a business? Like, what are they?
Like, what are they doing? The problem. I think it's the pharmacy's problem. You need pills for 3 days. Give them pills for 3 days.
Yeah, if any, you would think they slip like 1 or 2 extra in there, not like 24.
Yeah, and now that you mention it, now I wonder, because whenever I tell a doctor, okay, I'm going overseas for a few months, I need like an additional amount of supply, so they give me like 4 fucking months supply to go. I'm like, oh, would it be harder to get this if I was Black? And they were like, no, you just trying to drug yourself up.
How are you talking about, which is interesting, is, you know, white people do abuse these drugs, and when we abuse it, it's, you know, like a national problem. When the Black community abuses drugs, it's jail.
Holly, do you remember when that doctor lady died of a cocaine overdose, like in a condo in Manhattan some years back, and it was literally a crack house, and they called it a cocaine condo?
Yes, they did.
Yeah,
yes, they did. I was like, wait a minute, we have cocaine condos? Right, I was like, she was in a trap house. What are you talking about?
Right.
She's in a trap house.
She was in the trap. Deep.
But they went so far to call it a cocaine condo. Yeah. Like, not like it's Secret Santa. It's more like undercover gift giving. Like, bitch, she's a cokehead. Like, what the hell?
House. Like, let's call it what it is. Yeah.
It was a crack house. No, but we were talking about Dr. Susan Moore, the Black female doctor that died in the hospital after saying, like, they're not treating me right. This is racism. And they released her too soon. And then she died. You know what I mean? And it was just like, we're talking about systemic racism in the healthcare industry. And it's like, this is real. Like, that is very, very real.
Very much so. I had, you guys, I don't think anyone here knows this, but I had meningococcemia meningitis when I was an infant. And my fever was so high that it was above 115. My fever was.
Wow.
It was so hot. Yeah. You heard the words right. It was so hot. It burned my skin. So I have 3rd-degree burns over 30% of my body. And I was in a coma for 6 weeks. And the doctors, basically said, if she even survives by some miracle, she's going to be a vegetable because all of her internal organs, her heart, lungs, brain, everything's cooking. And, if this is not a fever dream, I'm not a vegetable, thankfully. But one of the things they had to do is called a cut down. And if you don't know what that is, anyone watching, it's where they have to cut open a part of your body to give you an IV. And so I have permanent scarring on one of my arms, and it looks like track marks if you're not a medical professional.
Okay. All right.
And there have been many occasions where I've gotten sick and had to go to the ER, and I can hear them whispering, "She's an addict. Oh, she's an addict." She's an addict. And I'm not. I've never used an intravenous drug in my life, outside of a hospital stay where they've given me medication intravenously. But that just shows you how BIPOC people are seen, and especially Black women are seen when they're in the medical realm. You know what I mean? Why would you these are medical professionals, the difference between a track mark and a cut down. It's a very specific look, you know what I mean? So that's just how we're seen, unfortunately. And we need to have these conversations, and we need to change that.
Well, yeah. I think we all agree. Thank God for everyone in this world that you survived. Because
I know. I cannot believe you survived that. That's amazing.
I didn't know your temperature could go that high.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
It was so hot. They were putting me on beds of ice, and I was just melting them like that. Like it was just turning to pools of water. Yeah, I shouldn't be here. At like 0% should I be here?
You are a miracle baby.
Miracle baby. Okay, we're gonna move on. So this is like sort of a continuation of our last conversation, because there are a couple of things that I realized after our conversation that I wanted to discuss, but also it was very interesting that de Blasio also, right after our conversation, changed the education system a little bit by scrapping the testing system in the middle school, dumbing it down so other people could get in. And that a lot of people were saying that, kind of like what we were saying, is you shouldn't do that. We should figure out ways to teach people better so that they could catch up and not bring everyone else down to us. So that's number one. Number two, what I was realizing was, with the Dalton scandals, the reason why the white kids might be testing better is because it's not even the white, I should rephrase that, the privileged people are testing better, is they're spending a shit ton of money on tutors and testing and like fake psychoanalysis so they get extra time. So there's like, no chance. Like my daughter went to private school. We didn't tutor up the wazoo. We didn't give her all this fake testing so that she could get time for like test anxiety. And she struggled to keep up.
Hold on, that's a real thing that...
Yeah, test anxiety at an elite public school.
That's amazing. I've never heard of that.
Really? Like, I mean, when do these people like start to like? I mean, I know some people need accommodations and time, but at some point they have to, phase into real life, and like a lawyer that gets extra time is going to charge you twice as much money.
That's true.
Well, I find it offensive that people actually do this, and I've known about this. But I find it offensive because, my son is on the autism spectrum, and so he does need extra time when he takes a test. And it's crazy because, I mean, his intellectual level, he's like 2 grades above most of the kids in his class, but socially, he's right there. So for people to go out of their way to get that, and that's supposed to be something that's for your IEP, I just find that really disgusting. And it really just shows just how much the playing field is so not level.
Was it hard for you to get extra time for him? Was it an easy thing to navigate?
No, it's easy because we have it on his IEP. He's in a really amazing school that focuses on kids on the spectrum. 25% of every classroom are kids in the spectrum. And it's a really kind of revolutionary charter school in Harlem because they started seeing that the disparity between white children on the spectrum and black and brown Spanish children on the spectrum and the level of care they got in the public school system. And a lot of public schools are just not equipped. They're just not equipped to handle it. So this charter school, they went to churches and barbershops and beauty salons and groups and on social media, and they really started the school about maybe 5-6 years ago. And they're having really miraculous results. But that IEP is ironclad. But it's crazy. We have our IEP meeting every year. We just had one last week where you have to, other parents I know, they have to fight for everything on their IEP, for kids' IEP. At our school, they're just like, yeah, that's what we're doing. And it's just like
IEP stands for what?
Individual educational plan.
I see. So Felicia, you're a booker. If a comedian came out with an IEP and was like, all right, I need extra time on my would you say yes?
You run the light, I don't care, you're out.
You're gonna fire me immediately. I'm a notorious light runner. I'm so I try not to, but you have some, that's a really good point, Hollie. The interesting thing too for me is that this mentality kind of follows you through your career. As you're a BIPOC person navigating the real world, you have different expectations. And I don't know if it's happened to you, but I worked in corporate America for years. Mm-hmm. And there were instances where I take pride in doing research and gathering data and then delivering that data to improve results of different programs. I used to build talent acquisition programs for tech companies. And I remember specifically, I got fired for being very right about a particular thing. Not fired, they terminated my position. So the position wasn't even possible for anyone to have. And it was very clear discrimination. I filed a lawsuit, I won, what I mean? So it was very clear, very defined discrimination. And it's just so interesting how when I can speak from my perspective as a Black woman, you have, I think someone said it, every time you reach the mark, that line is moved ahead a couple of steps. Like, well, no, actually, you're going to need to do this and these other 5 things. Oh, well, no, you made that, but you actually need to do, and then I watch my counterparts barely doing anything and skating through and getting promoted. And you know what I mean? And it's so painful. And I don't know what is the answer. You know what I mean? What is the answer? Are there conversations? How do we change the system? Because the system as a whole is inherently broken.
Well, what's interesting is you have this fight me thing, but so I was also fired as a young person for stating my opinion by a woman. And I wonder how much of it was because you were a person of color or because you were just a woman. I find, I think it's both. I say when I was in the workforce, if a woman spoke up, they got fired. And I'm like, oh, wait, that still happens.
Not too long ago. This was probably right. So I've been doing comedy 7 years. So right when I started comedy, and it was, I was working directly with the C-level executives of this particular organization, and my direct manager that I've been working with for years, he was terminated for something completely unrelated. And the person they put over me was someone I had a disagreement with. And the minute they hired him as my boss, I told my girlfriend, I said, I'm going to be fired. I already know he's going to terminate me because like I said, I like facts and figures and data. And we're in a meeting with all our C-level executives. He broached a suggestion for my team that he was not on. And I explained why that was not a good idea and it wouldn't work. And with my data, and my follow-up question was, okay, let's do this. But if we do it, how quickly can we revert back to my original plan? Because I can see now this is why it won't work. Long story short, it didn't work. And so we immediately changed things back. And once that happened, he never spoke to me again. He'd see me in the hall and would just turn his head. And then when he became my boss, you could just see it in his eyes. He was like, oh yeah, I'm getting rid of you. You cannot be in here with opinions.
Yeah.
You Black woman, how dare you?
Wow. I had the opposite experience in America. In Singapore, I got shut down a lot. I think it was just Asian culture, maybe. For example, in my school, it was an all-girls school, and there was a debate between our school and another school. And after the debate was over, it was open to the floor for discussion, etc. And I stated a point of view that kind of agreed with the other side. I was like, the debate's over, open floor discussion, let's just talk freely, right? And I got scolded. They were like, you embarrass your school. How can you speak up for the other side? I was like, it's an open floor discussion. I'm not one of the debaters. I'm just like contributing my opinion. So I got totally shut down. There was just one example of how they would like just shut me down every time I said an opinion. There was only one teacher who really encouraged me expressing myself. And then she actually told me to go to a more Western school. I went to a Chinese school, a very Chinese school. And I come to America and I was in a French class and 10% of our grade was based on participation points. And I noticed that I was really getting dinged because I was so trained to not speak up, right? So I wouldn't speak up in class and my grade was getting lower. So I was like, fuck this shit. I'm not getting my A because I can't speak up in class. So I actually said something and I said, hey, maybe you need to adjust things for like cultural differences. Like maybe have a curve. Like if in the beginning, someone from a country like mine is a little quiet, but you see them improving as time goes on, you can modify that just to be culturally sensitive. And they had like a whole department meeting, the French department, to discuss my point of view. They had a debate. So I was like, look at that. In America, you can state your opinion and be heard.
I think the world in general puts a lot of emphasis on people speaking up, and for the quiet people in the world, it's not a nice place. But I guess for women, if you're also too outspoken, it's not a nice place either.
Yeah, I hate this whole idea of people, like I've heard so many times in so many situations in the past 10 years, it's like, well, why didn't she say something then? Or why didn't you say something? It's like, because when you say something, you get chopped down. You know what I mean? Like if you've been like, think about it. If you were assaulted on the way home, it could be raped, it could be mugged, it could be whatever. Something bad happens on the way home. Someone attacks you on the way home. People don't say anything because they don't want to be assaulted all over again.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So they just don't want to live through it again. So speaking up is a big price. There's a huge price for speaking up. I'll never forget, I went to a theater conservatory in college and, a bachelor's degree in acting. Yeah, handy. But like, I just remember, we would have these all school kind of critiques after the play, like the big main stage plays. And they would go through everything, costume, lighting, sets, production design, everything, the acting, direction, producing, everything. And then I would say something and I noticed there were only about like a school, about 400 people, there are about maybe 11 or 12 Black people. And I did notice that when we would raise an opinion that the staff didn't like, they would really take it to heart way more. They would really take it to heart. And I'll never forget, I had a teacher kind of, be like, well, this is not a time to address, we're doing Cinderella. And they said, what do you think about the choice of Cinderella for the students? And I said, well, in Chicago, when there's 75% of the audience is Black, I actually find the Cinderella to be quite destructive. I think that's destructive. And this was like in early 90s, you know what I mean? So it was not received well. And so as a woman, it's not just being a woman, it's not just being Black. When you are a woman and when you are Black, but when you are a Black woman, people really, it does something, I don't know what it is. It's like it does something to their spine. Like it does something to their.
I'm gonna tell you what part of it is. And because I've been told this before, they expect, and we are required as Black people in general, but specifically Black women, to be grateful. Be grateful you're here at the table. Be grateful you're in this great program. Be grateful you're at the school. Don't have an opinion. You are lucky to be here and you need to act that way. And a lot of times when I have spoken up, I've been asked, who do you think you are? How dare you? You're uppity. I've been told this many, many times.
Is it like men or women too telling you this?
Men, women, girl, please. It runs the spectrum. Gentle theys and other thems. It's been everybody.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I think it was with you, I think it was Franqi, where I said when I think of Black women, I always think of them as very confident and strong and outgoing. And I think it was you that said, because we have to be.
Yeah, we have to be. That's absolutely true. We don't have the requirement. I was talking, and this is what had me late. I've been on Clubhouse all morning. You can get lost and trapped in there, but I'm just talking about different topics. And this was actually one of the topics, is that Black women, even amongst our peer groups, we're always, Beyonce wrote a whole song about it. Gloria Gaynor wrote a song about it, you know, being strong and surviving. And we have to be survivors, and we have to be strong, and we have to be powerful, and no one's gonna help you but you, which are all kind of relatively true things. But there's a space where Black women live where we can't be weak and vulnerable. We can't cry publicly. We can't say, I need help. You know what I mean? Because there's this expectation, even in our private relationships, there's this expectation for us to be strong. It took years for my husband to understand that sometimes I'm going to break down. Sometimes I can't bear the weight of whatever it is that I'm dealing with. But we as Black women, I made a joke a while ago about the Fire Festival. You guys remember that shit show? Remember when it?
With the styrofoam with like a piece of lettuce and a tomato.
Yeah, girl, yes.
On the beach.
Yeah, remember the whole documentary? At the end, they were down to like $1,500, and they're like, "Oh my God, the festival's in 2 days. What are we gonna do?" And I jokingly said they need to call up a Black single mother of 6. She would get that whole shit together. Within 2 days.
This over here, you doing this? Someone's cooking.
Girl, nice to show up. Jay-Z's gonna be there. We're oftentimes put in positions and forced to do more with less. What's his name? Paul McCartney wrote a whole song about it. And there's one of the lyrics is, take these broken wings and learn to fly. And that's so true. I get chills every time I hear it or think about it. It's so true. Black people.
Blackbird.
Blackbird, yes. But Black women specifically are born with perceived broken wings and are told, now get out there and fly. And then when we do, people get pissed about it. How dare you still be good? I didn't give you shit. Right, yeah.
Stop flying up.
Yeah, stop flying, bitch. What do you, get your ass. Yeah.
Get out of here. These are buzzards. Get out of here.
Right.
They're bats. These are not doves, they're bats. Get out.
Right.
I think female moms could do anything. We're like, go Jill Biden, right?
They're very different from male moms.
Yeah,
they are different from man moms.
One of my girlfriends is a Black woman, and she's like a powerful badass. You know, she's a lawyer and everything, doing great, has her own law firm. And she confessed to me one day that she's like, Jocelyn, I am so tired of having to be strong. And she was like, basically telling me what Franqi was saying, and I never realized how my ability to be weak and vulnerable was a privilege. I didn't know there was some women who didn't feel like they could do that and express that.
Yeah.
Well, I get you, because go ahead.
I get what I need by crying.
Nah, exactly. We get what we need by crying.
Well, let me tell you, like, I am a crier. And it's funny because like the thing about always being a strong Black woman and not cry, like, when I've cried in front of people and cried in public, people are like, it's like shocking to like see.
Girl, yes.
And it's funny because I did learn at a young age, it can catch people off guard. If you work it, you can't get what you want.
I do.
You know what I mean? But it's like weird because I can only do it with certain people. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I did learn that it's shocking to see a Black just like, you know, protect me. Oh my God. Like you're like, what's going on? Oh my God, that's weird. Yes, if you faint, what?
Yeah.
I feel lightheaded. You're like, what, bitch?
Look, this is how strong people think Black women are. I had my friend jokingly call my husband one night after a show. It's like 2 a.m. and we're headed home. And I said, ooh, call Charles and tell him you saw me get snatched into a car, right?
Girl,
listen. They call him.
No, she did. No, she did. Put her on the phone.
That's 100% what he was like. No, she didn't get snatched in a car. She would fuck somebody up. No, she didn't. And I'm like, well, what if I did get snatched into a car?
What? Can you imagine news report? He's like, look, they said she got taken. I'm just, Frank, if you hear me, like, stop playing, girl.
Right. Straight up. But that's just the testament. I mean, because they were good. They called seriously, like, oh my God, Charles, I don't know. I just called, the police are on their way, but Franqi got snatched by some men. He said, no, she didn't.
Okay, we're gonna move on to our final topic. So as someone said to me the other day, if 2020 were on a dating app, it would be Matched with the Devil.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, 2020, the highs, the lows, and what are you guys looking forward to in conclusion? Well, I'll start. I would say the high, the silver lining of like to know where that came from, silver lining, but
Fuck silver lining. Mine is diamond lining.
yeah, was having time with my family. I mean, my family as of this last year, I guess, was all going in different directions. You know, my daughter was going to move out. My son was moving to Seattle. My other daughter went to college. I was going to become an empty nester. And this summer, starting in March, we were all together. And so that was like found time that we got that I view as a gift. Now they're all leaving. So now I'm going to be like apoplectic. I'm gonna be crying a lot.
Like, bye. Bye, kids.
So, but of course, the bad part of 2020 were the clubs closing and stand-up being completely shut down. So I'm hoping in 2021 that we all will be together on a real stage sometime soon.
Yeah,
sounds like a dream, a beautiful, beautiful dream. I'll start with lows. I don't know if I told you guys this. I think I told you, Felicia, but I was pregnant at the start of the quarantine, very excited to have this new little baby, and I miscarried. So
I didn't know that. I'm so sorry.
Oh, horrific low, the lowest I've been in my whole life. It was awful. Like when Chrissy Teigen posted her story, that just hit home. So it was not nice to hear. I hate that happened to her, but I could feel a kinship and a camaraderie, and just to have that connection, to know that I wasn't. I went through that very quietly and very privately because there were the marches and everything were going on, and I didn't want to post anything about it and divert attention to me, for something private.
Being the strong Black woman as usual.
Yes, Jocelyn, exactly. So that was the low. The highs probably for me, definitely. So me and my daughter are starting a podcast that I'm super stoked about. Yeah, talking about parenting, being LGBTQ, just living in a family. It's called, I'm bi, so it's going to be called By the Way, ... she's gay.
Cute.
Well, it's By the Way, ... she's gay, ! Because my daughter's gay. And so we're going to talk about just everything. There's nothing that's off the table, sexuality, school, education, everything we're going to talk about. And I'm so stoked about that. And then my goals are just to fuck shit up in 2021.
Yeah,
really,
fuck shit up.
Yeah, just fuck shit up. I just want to get out and really just be more aggressive, living more in myself, and just not be apologetic for anything and who I am. And it's too late for that. Anything can happen. We could die at any minute. I want to live all this shit. So
no, I'm with you. I'm going to be right behind you.
Just next to me. You don't gotta be behind me. Be next to me, girl.
Yeah, I'll be next to you. But just a funny story, because I'm going into surgery, and the nurse called me up, and she was asking me all these questions, and she wanted to know if I was going to need a nurse. And I said, well, what do I need a nurse for? She said, well, if your wife can change your bandages once a week, you don't need a nurse, as long as your wife is capable of doing it. And I'm like, wife? I'm like, I have a husband. She's like, oh, it says Sandy on it. My husband's name is Sander. And it's
hilarious.
And so she's like, oh, I was just trying to be politically correct, because
But when she found out it was a man, she's like, you need a nurse.
That's what I said. I said,
you don't need somebody.
Yes, I need a nurse.
Yeah, don't do that. You'll die. Don't do that.
Right, hilarious. Hollie, that's so funny.
No, but you know what? This year, like 2020 has been crazy. I had so much hope for 2020. Like I was coming in 2020 like, what? Who's the woman? What? Like, what is me? And then it was just like, like everything just got snatched. But like, honestly, the low was within COVID. My husband and I lost 2 uncles, and I lost a friend that, okay, you ever have a friend that you don't have a falling out, but they have a falling out with someone close to you. And so they think that you don't want to mess with them anymore.
Yeah.
That's what I had. And I was trying to let this friend know, no, we have our own thing. And then they died.
Oh, Hollie.
And honestly, I don't want to cry. I'm going to cry. I just, I didn't move fast enough. I didn't move fast enough. And so that has really taught me, you need to really move faster when it comes to people. Just because somebody's young doesn't mean they're always going to be around. But honestly, the highlight of 2020 for me was, COVID started, and I have a friend. It's funny, I have like all these friends in my building just because I'm so nosy, and I'll knock on your door and ask for sugar. I don't even need to know you. I'll just be like, I need, what's up? I'm Hollie, and I need some sugar. Like, I really will. And so one of the people that knocked on the door, we became really good friends, and she's a producer. And so we started talking, and she was like, how do you see yourself? And so I started talking about all the things that I've done or things that I'm doing. And she's like, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about how you see yourself. How do you see yourself? And so I started really telling her about all the things that I want to do. And she really helped me craft, show me how to make pitches. And so I've been pitching, and I have some pitches some things are going to be happening for me in 2021, because I took time to really not be like, I've done this sketch and I'm this stand. No, it's about how you see yourself. Because what we're able to achieve in our lives is not always how we see ourselves. And so
I'll call you later, Holly. You're gonna help me write these pitches.
Girl, I went to
I'm
like
not even joking.
I'm dead serious. I went to like almost, they should call it like Pitch University. Like Pitch University.
I'm not even kidding. Please, I need your help.
And so, and but your podcast seems dope as hell. Like it really does. So that's what I'm really grateful for. I'm grateful for the time to really, really look at myself in a different way.
Love it. Good on you, girl. What are your goals? You didn't do goals.
Oh God, my goals are I want to sell 3 shows this year.
Yes, say it, Holly.
I sell 3 shows. I'm close with 2. I'm going to sell 3 shows this year. That's what
I love it. Yes. Okay, sorry, Jocelyn. Go ahead. I love it so much.
No, that's great.
Jocelyn.
So the good thing from this year is I got out of a toxic situationship. The bad thing was getting out of that toxic situation. It was just very hard, very trying. The aftermath was very emotionally devastating for me when he moved on like at lightning speed, told me he loved this girl, publicly announced that he loved this girl, quarantining with her, Facebook official, the works, right? Telling me, oh, I think she's the one. Like, I don't know why he was so insensitive, but whatever, that's his issues.
You said he was toxic because he was toxic.
No, thank you. Right? I did tell you why he was. Yeah, exactly. Like Jennifer Aniston would say, he has a sensitivity chip missing. So,
yeah.
That was very bad. Made 10,000 times worse because of quarantine. Can't just move on. Can't do comedy, etc. But the silver, platinum, diamond lining out of this is I finally reached out to my family for help. Now I know I mentioned that. We were talking about Black women not being able to show vulnerability. I actually usually don't show vulnerability either. I have a hard time asking people for help. Not sure what it is. I mean, my name, my name is like my dad named me this name, Needs to Be Hardworking, because he wanted me to be independent. So they've never like really mollycoddled me the way white parents might. So I finally broke down. I told my family, you know what, I'm having a hard time. My mental health has suffered. And they really stepped up. My aunt came forth. She told me she had suffered from depression, etc. Gave me some advice. My parents were like, you can come back home. They paid the Singapore government $2,000 so I could come back home to Singapore. $2,000 because they make you quarantine in a 5-star hotel for 2 weeks when you get back. Yeah, I know they force you to stay in a 5-star.
Oh no, damn it. How do I get my Singapore citizenship is my next question.
I wish I still had it. I mean, it would be easier to get back, but I had to give it up to keep American citizenship. So, and they gave me a laptop for Christmas. So just to see like, oh wow, when I shared that, hey, I'm having a hard time here, people now have the ability to step forth and show you how loved you are, how supported you are. And so I'm grateful that I'm ending the year in a so much better place. I have the support that I need. I have, I know what to do to kind of move forward in my life. So I feel like for 2021, it's going to be, the big goal is to end the year as a headliner on the road. This year, I miraculously still managed to get bumped up to feature on the road because I was in Portland and I got on Helium Comedy Club as a feature. So like, all right, now I can officially say I'm a feature. And next year, by the end of the year, I want like a 45-minute to 50 strong headliner set that I can tour the world with.
I love it. Yes,
right.
you're gonna do all of that. You're gonna do
that.
Yes,
Jocelyn. Yes.
Well, one of the other highlights of 2020, girls, was starting Broadish. So this has been a delight. It's been fun. It's been fun working with everyone, getting to know everyone, enlightening ourselves and everyone else, hopefully, that watches. Thank you for being part of my 2020. And this is Broadish. I'm Felicia Madison.
I'm Hollie Harper.
I'm Jocelyn Chia.
And I'm late Franqi French.
And this is Broadish.